Ling, an average boy, gets reincarnated into another world, where humans can only survive by taming spiritual pets to fight off the monsters. However, unlike the cliché of getting reincarnated as the strongest, he is given just a pet zombie, a monster considered trash, because of its inability to evolve and low stats. With the admission exam approaching, he loses his mind figuring out what to do. But then, heaven answers his prayer. He's given a cheat system, allowing him to do the impossible. Now, with this new system at his fingertips, he starts his journey to become the strongest. The story begins in the Junior Guardian Spirit Academy, where many students are heading to and from class. Also, is that a dragon on the building? What the heck? In class, the teacher reminds his students that there is only a week left until the admission tests for the Pet Tamer Guardian Academies. He tells the students they should use these few days to prepare themselves for the tests, encouraging them to get good grades so they can get into their ideal college. With this, he dismisses the class, and the students begin to gossip with each other, talking about how their 3 years of junior high went by in a flash. Fearful of their future, they discuss their next step. Apparently, those who cannot get into a Guardian Spirit Academy can only remain as normal people. There, in the corner of the class, is a young boy who looks rather unconcerned, while everyone else panics. Although he knows the tests are only a week away, what does that have to do with him? What does this have to do with me being a traverser? He wonders. As it turns out, this guy was reincarnated into this world just a week ago. Thankfully, due to merging with the memories of his host, he knows all about this fantasy land. A world where monsters are rampant, and humans can only survive by relying on its tall city walls. In order to fight against these beasts, humans have evolved by taming spiritual creatures, giving rise to a special profession called the Spirit Guardian. These guardians have the duty to fight against vicious monsters by harnessing a powerful spiritual pet. But that's not all. They also have the ability to open up places outside the city. For the young ones, their biggest dream is to become a powerful spirit guardian, and all those who reach the age of 18 are assigned a monster egg. By making a contract with the egg, they can obtain their first pet. But this all has nothing to do with the boy, who is introduced as Ling, since his host body has already hatched his first egg. What's more, he opened a horribly weak monster, a zombie. It can only waddle around, and cannot even get stronger. Talk about being useless. Although his ugly zombie pet might have superb defense, its offensive skills are nothing to boast about. But more importantly, the reality is his zombie pet cannot evolve, and is destined to be useless. I think the original owner must have died of despair, he thinks. As he sits there in class, wallowing in his despair, another boy named Chunji from his class comes up to him, trying to comfort him. I mean, even if Ling fails the tests, he can still be an ordinary office worker. In the first place, not having to sacrifice your life on adventures sounds like a pretty sweet deal. But Ling isn't really happy to hear it, especially from Chunji, who has already awakened a wind wolf with high attributes. Just then, something strange happens. Out of nowhere, a message screen pops up, revealing Ling's pet has met the activation conditions of the spirit system. Hearing this, he is delighted to no end. At last, his cheat has finally arrived. Regardless, Chunji tells his friend not to give up, and maybe he might get into a low-level spirit academy. But Ling has other ideas in mind. Now that he has a system on his side, a low-level school will meet his needs. My goal is not a low-level guardian academy, he proclaims. However, this bold statement catches the attention of Li Wu, the class bully, who begins mocking Ling and his weak pet. Obviously, this pisses off Chunji, especially considering Li Wu just throws around his family's name to get whatever he wants. But Ling holds him back, telling him this isn't the place to fight. Despite the Li family being second-rate in the city, it's still not weak by any means. Nevertheless, he vows to take revenge on him one day. Only he has the potential to enter a top academy, and once he does, he will beat Li Wu and see what the Li family is truly capable of. Big words for someone with a useless zombie. With this, the two take their leave from class, and Ling heads back home alone, itching to see what his system is really capable of. At home, he learns that the system can help level up spiritual pets quickly. As a result, he begins exploring the system and realizes that even his useless zombie can evolve thanks to it. In this world, the growth power of pets is divided into 8 levels: trash, mediocre, common, uncommon, rare, epic, legend, and myth. However, despite the myth rank being the highest level, no pet has ever reached this level in the entire Federation. Each level has an upgrade cap, and the greater the growth ability, the more talented skills one possesses, naturally giving them an advantage over everyone else. Still, just the fact that his trash zombie can now evolve is enough for him at the moment. According to the system, it can even reach the myth level if it evolves into the ultimate red-eyed zombie and begins laughing out of joy. With the Guardian system, the top Guardian Spirit Academy is completely within my reach. He chuckles. Suddenly, he remembers a crucial piece of information. In order to evolve, the pets require various materials, and he decides to figure out what his zombie needs to evolve. And just as he checks the system, he finds that the system is giving him a rare opportunity, a free evolution without any resources. Not wanting to pass up on this free evolution, he immediately upgrades his pet, and his useless doll takes the appearance of a well-endowed woman. "Master, please take care of me," the woman exclaims as she completes her transformation. Taken aback by just how pretty his new female zombie is, Ling begins getting curious as to how strong she can be. As a result, he decides to take a look at her attributes, and is delighted to see her growth level has increased from trash to common. What's more, she has even received a new skill, Bloodlust, which can help the owner recover from injuries by dealing damage. Although it has a cooldown, this skill can heal injuries and make the battles last longer. A pretty nifty skill to have, if you ask me. This, along with her damage reduction ability, makes her quite adept at taking and dealing damage. A good meat shield indeed. Still, this is nowhere near enough will quench Ling's thirst for power, and he wonders how he can obtain more skills and talent points. Consequently, the system explains that he needs points in order to get more skills. At the moment, he has 2 points on hand, thanks to the system, and he can use them to add skills and talents to the pet. In addition, he can also upgrade the skills already mastered. The spiritual pets possess skills that require learning in order to be mastered, and in his school, only 3 skills are taught to the students: Spiritual Chain, Spiritual Shield, and Spiritual Vision. The high-level skills that the pets have are not easy to upgrade and need a lot of time to cultivate, but things are even worse for Ling, who already has pretty low spiritual power. Because of this, upgrading skills for him will take way longer and consume too much time. Hence, it's not really worth it for him. However, lucky for him, he has 2 points handy, and he decides to put them to use. Immediately, the system gives him a choice of skills, and playing into the strengths of his zombie, Ling decides to pick high-speed regeneration, claiming zombies should behave like zombies. Probably not. You know they eat brains, right? As it turns out, this is actually a pretty overpowered skill, and as long as the pet doesn't die, the skill allows her to continuously regenerate. In the first place, the spiritual pets are still capable of receiving fatal injuries, and it could prove to be very troublesome if she suffers from one in battle. Therefore, this regenerative skill is a must-have. But that's not all. You might remember he has 2 points, meaning he can still select another skill. There, he comes across the Berserker skill, which gradually reduces the pet's health in exchange for increasing strength. This too is a pretty overpowered ability, especially if you combine it with Bloodlust. You can not only deal significant damage, but the pet's health will also be restored upon attacking. If this cycle goes on, my female zombie will be terrifying, he thinks, and hence, he ultimately ends up going for the Berserker skill as well. And so, with her new skills and evolution, it is now unfitting for Ling to keep calling her a black-eyed zombie, and instead, he refers to her as a white-eyed zombie. Suddenly, he begins examining his pet's appearance, noticing how her skin has become soft, almost no different than the skin of regular humans. However, when he pinches her cheek to test this, the zombie turns red as a beet and begins to blush, asking her master what he is doing. Oh no, I hope this doesn't go the way I think this is going. Hearing her speak, Ling is taken aback and releases her. In addition, now that she can comprehend speech, calling her a generic name like zombie must be unpleasant for her, he thinks. Hence, he decides to name her Shuiyu, and she too seems to be fond of this idea. Phew, I guess I have to cut back on the adult manga I have been reading. Anyway, with the formalities out of the way, Ling once again checks out her attributes and begins grinning like an idiot, happy that his pet is so much more powerful than she used to be. As per him, she is even stronger than other pets and monsters, with the same growth level as her. But still, in order to continue her evolution, they need to hunt monsters and get stronger. With this, he decides it's time for action and announces, it's time to go monster hunting. Finally, some action. As they head out, Ling reveals that the Federation he is a part of isn't technologically weak or anything. However, it's still way behind when compared to the newest tech. In this world, cars and vehicles exist as well, but they aren't powered by gasoline or electricity. Rather, spiritual energy is used. Spiritual power is the driving force of all decisions in this world, and both cars and airships are limited to driving within the city limits. This is because there are monsters outside the city walls, where they run rampant and wreak havoc. Daring to drive out under such circumstances is akin to suicide. Nonetheless, transportation in the city is still covered by cars, whereas airship shuttles are best for traveling between cities. What's more, the Federation has also arranged for powerful Imperial spirit envoys to accompany the airships for protection. As long as the airship doesn't encounter a large number of flying monsters, safety is basically guaranteed. He also explains the concept of money in this world, revealing the only currency used in the cities is credit points. Anyways, Ling takes a cab, heading to the south gate. But hearing his request, the cab driver is stunned. In his eyes, a mere student going to the south gate alone is pretty dangerous. But Ling has his reasons. The city of Huai has 4 gates, each of them heavily guarded by armed soldiers, in an attempt to prevent a monster invasion at all times. However, Ling is no longer the weakling he used to be a few moments ago, and now he possesses enough strength to venture outside the city walls. At the south gate, the guards check his ID and let him pass. Outside, Ling explains that low-level monsters usually hang around the city walls, whereas stronger ones tend to be located further away. Still, the outside world is nothing to joke about. In the wilderness, it's better to be careful, he proclaims. As a result, he calls out Shueyu. In addition, he has already prepared a map of the distribution of monsters around the south gate and knows where he wants to go, the burial mound. Apparently, the level of undead monsters in this mound isn't very high, and they can also collect evolution materials from them. Consequently, Ling leads the way, and his zombie pet follows suit. As they venture deeper into the wilderness, Ling comments on how, despite getting the first evolution for free, he has to collect all the subsequent evolution materials by himself. Therefore, in order to evolve his pet into a gray-eyed zombie, he has to gather 4 different types of materials: a flawless bone, a heart of darkness, 10 second-grade darkness crystals, and 10 dark blood essences. And that is precisely why he has come to this burial mound. There's a chance to obtain 2 of these materials, he explains. The flawless bone and the secondary darkness crystals are abundant in this desolate land. Just then, Shueyu begins to mumble, revealing that the undead are everywhere. But that's only to be expected, since they came to hunt these undead in particular. She might be cute, but she sure is an airhead. Alas, Ling still can't find any of them. In the first place, he checked the map and found there should be skeleton soldiers in the area, but he still couldn't find even a single one. However, he misses one thing. Out of nowhere, the skulls and piles of bones lying on the ground begin to move. Out of the ground, many skeleton soldiers emerge and grab hold of Ling. But that's not all. The system also gives him a brand new mission: kill 20 skeleton soldiers to get 50% of the current spirit pet's experience points. Seeing this, he is left delightfully shocked. Obviously, this is a pretty overpowered reward, and he orders Shueyu to kill them all. Consequently, his zombie pet flies into action and begins causing havoc. In a single attack, she takes down 4 opponents. Damn, I guess the evolution wasn't just for show. Understanding Shueyu's true strength, Ling decides to keep on pushing her and not let a single one leave. Apparently, his pet's nails are covered with corpse poison, and as long as she can scratch her opponent, the corpse poison will invade the enemy's body and kill them. However, against foes like the skeletons, this doesn't have much effect. Since they are just a pile of bones and don't have a corpse. Regardless, she plows through all of her foes, taking down 6 skeletons in a matter of seconds. The battle continues, and the undead keep on popping out of the ground in groups, but no matter how much they struggle, they stand no chance against Shueyu, despite being around at the same level as her. A single blow is strong enough to leave them in pieces, and before you know it, the mission is already completed. Not wanting to waste a single moment, Ling immediately levels his pet up, and she reaches rank 1, level 3 in the blink of an eye. What's more, they're also rewarded 1 free point as well, and Ling decides to use it on her in an attempt to get her to level up even faster. As such, he gives Shueyu the magic damage reduction skill. In his mind, now that her attacking power is sufficient enough, it's better to focus on magic resistance, so she can combat enemies with magical abilities as well. Anyway, this is just the beginning of their journey. He realizes that there are elite skeleton soldiers nearby too, and decides to go after them. Once again, he leads the way and Shuiyu gladly follows. Eventually, they reach their destination, and Yi Ling finds a rather strange scene. A group of elite skeleton soldiers appears to be engaged in battle against a cute girl. Without hesitation, the skeletons dash at her, wanting to take care of the situation as quickly as possible. But this girl keeps standing idle, nonchalantly as can be. Despite the monsters coming at her at full speed, weapons in hand, she has a smug expression painted on her face. Suddenly, Yi Ling recognizes this girl to be Huo Xianer, and is surprised that she actually got ahead of him. But he also notices that she is alone, with her spirit pet nowhere in sight. She's not planning to take on the skeleton soldiers by herself, is she? He wonders as he contemplates if he should come out and help. Bro's trying to be a hero, and they say chivalry is dead. On the other hand, back at the battlefield, just as the monsters get close to her, Huo Xianer makes a sinister face and calls for her Earth Dragon. And as soon as she does so, a giant dragon appears behind her. It is explained that Earth Dragons are among the pets with the highest base stats, and their growth power is revealed to be rare. The elites of the spiritual pets. Upon its arrival, Huo Xianer wastes no time fooling around, and orders her pet to swiftly finish things and deal with the enemy. Consequently, the Earth Dragon charges into battle. Without a shred of hesitation, it faces off against the elite skeleton soldier and, using its tail, crushes its opponent into a million pieces, rendering it unable to move. Seeing such an incredible display of power, Yi Ling, who is staying hidden and watching from the sidelines, is left impressed. But the show doesn't end there. A skeleton, despite having its bones crushed, still tries to attack, crawling up to the dragon to get into range. But the Earth Dragon notices this. Its eyes glowing red with rage, it stomps down on the poor skeleton, flattening it against the ground. A skeleton pancake, if you will. Suddenly, a strange purple hue begins to pour out of the undead's body. Seeing this, Huo Xianer calmly pulls out a vial and opens it, causing the purple hue to collect inside the vial. All the while, Yi Ling is still observing everything from a distance. He reveals that this purple hue is the soul fire, the monster core of a skeleton-class monster. This leaves him even more impressed with Huo Xianer. This girl is really something, he proclaims. The vial she is using is a soul bottle used to collect the soul fire. And the reason she has such an item handy? Well, you see, the Huo family is one of the 3 major families in Tianhui City, meaning it's only natural they are loaded. Anyways, with the battle now over, Huo Xianer shows affection to her powerful pet, praising it for its performance. In addition, she also realizes that someone is watching her in secret and tells them to come out, asking if there is really any point in hiding. Understanding that he is caught, Yi Ling decides to come clean. As per him, Huo Xianer is the eldest daughter of the Huo family, as well as the future heir. Now that's someone you don't want to get on the bad side of. Furthermore, she was also the Madonna of the school, highly esteemed and favored by others for her family reputation and beauty. Apparently, she reached the 7th level of the first rank at a very young age, whereas Yi Ling has only reached level 2 of the first rank after more than half a year. Still, having been discovered, he comes out to reveal himself, and Huo Xianer questions who this guy is and what he is doing, stalking her from afar. To this, Yi Ling just claims to be a random guy passing by, but she recognizes him to be Yi Ling. Hearing this, he is left surprised and asks how this big shot knows about him. As a result, Huo Xianer explains she heard about him at school as the one whose first contracted spirit pet turned out to be a useless zombie that was unable to evolve. Ouch, and people say the worst she can say is no. She asks what he is doing here alone, in such a dangerous place as the burial mound. However, hearing her words, Yi Ling is furious, pissed off, and in a rather confrontational tone. He claims that where he goes and what he does is his business, and it isn't something she should be concerned about. I guess it really struck a nerve. Sensing the hostility in his voice, the Earth Dragon gets angry about its master being scolded, and it growls at him furiously. This is enough to scare the daylights out of Yi Ling, almost giving him a heart attack. Meanwhile, seeing this, Huo Xianer bursts out laughing. Once again, she praises her pet for defending her, and tells it to stop scaring the poor lad. With this, she calmly tells Yi Ling that she just wanted to give him a friendly reminder that this place is extremely dangerous. It's not a place where someone like him should come alone, and suggests he head back as soon as possible. But this only triggers Ling even more. He announces there is no need for him to return so soon. "I am capable of taking care of myself, so there is no need for you to worry about me," he exclaims. In his mind, he is enraged at how high and mighty Huo Xian is acting, solely because she comes from a powerful family. Nepotism. Am I right? Regardless, having said his piece, he decides to take his leave and walks off into the woods, thinking he is no longer the same trash he used to be in the past, and bids her farewell. Seeing him venture deeper into the burial mound, despite her warning, Huo Xian feels humiliated and gets infuriated as well. All she was trying to do was make a kind gesture, and still, he couldn't even appreciate it. Probably because you called him trash. Because of this, she grows curious to figure out what this weakling dumbass wants to do in this burial mound. As per her, there are only a few people, even in the 3rd grade, who dare to come to the burial mound alone. Then why is Ling, a guy from the bottom of the barrel, here? And so, she uses her recovery spiritual skill to desummon her pet and begins to follow him, claiming, "I want to see what the hell you're up to." Consequently, she tries to be all sneaky and tails him from behind, using the barren trees as obstacles to hide behind, all the while making a pouty face to show her dissatisfaction with their conversation earlier. However, it's quite clear she sucks at being a ninja or assassin. Ling immediately senses her presence and begins to wonder what this woman is trying to do. Nevertheless, he doesn't really care about her in the least. To him, what's important is increasing his rank, and he pushes forward, not thinking much of Huo Xian's antics. All of a sudden, just like the last time, the elite skeleton soldiers emerge from the ground and grab his feet. In a matter of seconds, he is completely surrounded, almost as if he was lured into a trap. Seeing the huge horde of monsters in front of him, he realizes he's pretty screwed. On the other hand, Huo Xian is also left fearful for her fellow schoolmate. As per her, with 3 elite soldiers and a large number of small fries surrounding him, Ling is in hot water. And just like she thought, the monster group commences their attack. One of the elite skeletons charges in headfirst and begins swinging his blade. As a result, out of desperation, Ling calls out Shuweiyu, managing to create some distance and avoid the fatal blow. Seeing her appear, Huo Xian is left with her jaw on the floor. Firstly, she wonders how on earth a zombie could evolve into something so pretty. Sounds like someone is jealous. This makes her wonder if Ling's pet is a mutated spiritual pet, or maybe even an evolved form. But how could this even be possible? Weren't zombies supposed to be useless pets that couldn't level up? Little does she know that our boy has a cheat system. Back on the battlefield, Shuweiyu is commanded to engage the enemy and rushes in. But unlike last time, things won't be so easy. The elite skeleton soldiers all have armor, weapons, and even a shield to protect themselves from Shuweiyu's attacks. Alas, even all this won't be enough. The zombie girl, utilizing her swift movements, manages to sneak up behind the elite and stabs him in the head, defeating him with just a single blow. Witnessing this, Huo Xian is left disillusioned. Isn't she a little too strong, even for a zombie, she wonders. But that's just barely scratching the surface. Even Ling claims this is just the beginning, and that the real show is still to come. Suddenly, the system screen pops up once more, actually twice more. He's assigned 2 more missions. Firstly, he has to kill 20 skeleton soldiers in exchange for obtaining 50% XP points and an additional outfit for his spiritual pet. Secondly, he has to defeat 100 elite skeletons, aka skeleton officers, to immediately increase Shuweiyu's level by 1. For him, this is the best case possible. Not only can he complete 2 tasks at once, but he will even be rewarded greatly. Also, what on earth will an outfit do? He seems pretty happy about it, but is it really of any use? Of course, killing 100 skeleton officers is going to be pretty tiring, but it looks like our boy is favored by the gods. Out of nowhere, more and more skeletons keep on digging their way to the surface and charging at him. Alas, the poor monsters don't know what's in store for them. If things are going the direction he wants, it's better to go with the flow for now. Consequently, he commands Shuweiyu to activate the Berserker and attack as well. Heeding his command, the zombie pet pierces her lip, causing minor bleeding and the activation of her trump card. Instantly, a reddish hue begins to surround her, and she prepares for the long battle ahead. All the while, Huo Xian is left more and more shocked. She recognizes the Berserker skill to reduce one's health, while simultaneously increasing the attack and speed stats. According to her, Having a zombie with the ability to suck blood, paired together with the berserker skill, is practically cheating. Isn't this a little too perverted? She thinks, but the show is just starting. Back on the battlefield, Shu Yu, having activated her skill, moves in at the speed of light, taking down one skeleton after the other in the blink of an eye. Her immense speed and power make only one of her blows strong enough to pummel an undead back into the ground. Eventually, she faces off against a skeleton officer, and witnessing this, Ling gets another ingenious idea. As per him, it's the perfect time to test out the effect of one of his spiritual abilities and deploy the spiritual chain. As a result, chains with a purple aura appear on the battlefield and wrap around the skeleton officer, constraining and restricting all his movements, leaving him wide open for frontal attacks. Pretty overpowered ability, if you ask me. The chains cause the skeleton officer to fall to the ground. All the while, Ling does the T-pose to assert his dominance. Seeing the field wide open, he commands Shu Yu to attack, and she rushes in. Just when she gets close enough, she soccer kicks the skeleton's head, sending it crashing into its comrades. Legend has it, she's the next Ronaldo. As the skull makes contact, the soldiers also collapse, bringing down several opponents at once. Witnessing all this unfold right in front of her eyes, Huo Xian is left speechless. She comments on how terrifying this berserker zombie is, commenting on how even her earth dragon, one of the strongest pets, would be no match for her. On the other hand, Ling is delighted to no end after seeing Shu Yu's power and tells her to end things quickly. Consequently, she continues fighting and takes down one skeleton after another with no issue. Her insane speed allows her to attack repeatedly, cleaning up the entire battlefield in mere seconds. But all this is just too much for Huo Xian to process at once. Even the skull, which is supposed to be the skeleton's toughest bone, was pierced by the pet in one go. Never in her life did she imagine that Ling, the usual bottom-tier trash character, would end up becoming one of her biggest threats and competitors to enter the top-level Guardian Spirit Academy. But still, she refuses to end things like this. "No, I can't give up just like that," she proclaims. "If you ask me, it's better to give up. After all, you can't defeat someone with plot armor." Back at the battlefield, Ling begins inspecting the huge piles of bones left behind in the aftermath, wondering why on earth there are no good drop items even after taking down such a large group. Apparently, picking up items by scavenging for them is just too big of a hassle. For Mr. just got overpowered abilities, and he wishes there was something like an auto pickup skill in the system to make his life easier. However, just like the Bible says, "Ask and you shall receive." All of a sudden, the system screen pops up again, solving his problem. It tells him to reach rank 2 level 1 to avail the auto pickup function and get a mysterious reward item as well. Alas, rather than being happy, this annoys Ling. Some people are just ungrateful. In his eyes, he's only a rank 1 level 3 at the moment, and the rank requirement is still too far away. Consequently, all he can do for now is slowly search and pick up the items on his own, like a peasant. And so he begins rummaging through the pile of bones tirelessly. Soon enough, he spots something shiny in the pile that catches his eye, and he decides to check out what it is. However, upon closer inspection, realizes this is one of the items he was after, the flawless bone. This is exactly what Shu Yu needs in order to reach the next stage, and he didn't expect it to be so easy to obtain the first evolution material. Evidently, when luck is on your side, nothing can stop it. He reveals that the only potential evolutionary materials he can get at the burial mound are the flawless bone and the second-grade darkness crystals. Thankfully, he has found one and decides to continue their search for the other, thinking there are sure to be many more targets waiting for them, and Shu Yu agrees. Just like that, they resume the farming session, and a few hours later, they still seem to be fighting non-stop, facing a few skeletons. Shu Yu leads the charge, but appears to be visibly exhausted from all the battles. The fighting has caused her to begin panting heavily, and even her clothes are left in tatters. But despite all this, the show must go on. The skeleton officer tries to use this as his chance to attack, but Shu Yu is still prepared, no matter how exhausted she is. Once again, using her berserker skills, she powers up and makes her move, smashing her foes to the ground without hesitation. "Bro, I know she's a zombie and all, but if you can give her a name, you should also give her a break." As the fight takes place, Ling leisurely watches from the side. Moments later, he is informed that one of the 2 tasks he recently refused has been completed, In exchange, he has been rewarded with 50% experience point progress and even a set of new Shu Wei Yu exclusive clothes. Seeing this, he realizes that his pet's experience points have increased by a whopping 80% in just one day. This leveling speed is unheard of, he exclaims. But more importantly, he begins checking out the new outfit. As it turns out, this is only for Shu Wei Yu, and it's called the Nichang Bloody Garment. What's more, it has many buffs, such as resistance against physical and magical attacks, and even comes with a self-cleaning function, making it practically indestructible. Consequently, he calls Shu Wei Yu back in the middle of the fight and hands her the clothes. Boasting its many properties, he tells her to change into them quickly before resuming the farming session, and she immediately does so, right in front of him. In the midst of all the commotion, she begins to undress, giving her master a bloody nose. Sick freak, she's your pet for Pete's sake. Eventually, she gets done and emerges in her new outfit, ready to go. All the while, Ling is happy about all the recent developments. Why wouldn't he be? He got to see a beauty in the flesh after all. But that's not what he meant. He's glad that this new dress has an auto-repair function and now, his pet can wear it for quite some time. Anyways, with this, the battle continues, and Shu Wei Yu begins wreaking havoc yet again, and brings down one enemy after another. All of a sudden, she levels up once more and reaches level 4. Witnessing this, Ling is delighted to no end, even more than he just was. The fact is, he managed to level up 2 levels in a single day. Thanks to the level up, he even gets a free point. Still, all this fighting has made the day go by in a blink. Now it's getting late, and as per Ling, the monsters in this place at night are too dangerous for them to handle on their own. Therefore, he suggests they go back home for now and begin to leave, and Shu Wei follows suit. Later that night, in Ling's room, he scrolls around on his system and takes a good hard look at his new stats and all the skills he has managed to gain. In just one day, Shu Wei Yu and I have undergone drastic changes, he announces, but this is still nowhere near enough. There are only a few days left until the Academy selection exam, and hence, he has to hurry up and fight even more monsters to level up in the upcoming days. He has decided to skip school for a few days, so he can solely focus on this instead, claiming he will call the teacher tomorrow and ask for leave. Meanwhile, at a huge manor somewhere in the city, Huo Xian is seen trading all by herself throughout the night. Using her spiritual chain, she works on her movements and attacks. Although exhausted, she refuses to call it a day and keeps on working diligently. This time, she is adamant about not giving up and vows she will not lose to Ling or anyone else for that matter. Suddenly, someone calls out to her and comes walking into the frame. This someone is revealed to be none other than her father, who asks why she is still up despite it being so late. To this, Huo Xian explains that she wants to get stronger. She also tells him that she saw an evolved zombie today, but, of course, her dad doesn't believe her. You must be mistaken. Zombies cannot evolve, he tells her. This guy seems to be a professional gaslighter. And this is, in fact, the reality. Such a thing has never been seen, and it's only natural he wouldn't believe it. Nevertheless, in an attempt to comfort her, he pats her on the head, telling Huo Xian not to put so much pressure on herself. Of course, the Academy selection is very important for her future, but all she can do is try her best. Hearing this, she calms down a bit, and her father tells her to go to sleep now. Regardless, the days go by in a flash. 3 days later, Ling wakes up in the morning raring to go. It's today, Academy selection day, he cheerfully reveals. On the other hand, at the center of Tianhui City is the mayor's mansion, where several airships come to a stop. Seeing all of the Guardian Spirit Academy's airships at once, everyone watching is left in awe. Meanwhile, the mayor of the city, Shang Lingkong, excitedly greets everyone. And who is he greeting exactly, you might ask? Well, none other than the representatives of all the top-tier Spirit Academies. From Qinglong Academy, rank 7 level 8, is Lu Feng, and from Baihu Academy is Bai Tong, rank 7 level 7. But that's not all. In addition to these two, the representative of Xuan Wu Academy, rank 7 level 7, Demi Huo, has also arrived. Apparently, she is also from the Huo family branch in Saint City and reveals she is here for Huo Xian, asking if that girl really is a genius as the rumors say. Bro, are they cloning girls in that family? Why does she and Huo Xian look the same? In response, the mayor claims that Huo Xian truly is a one-of-a-kind genius. The fact is, she is at the top of all the youngsters in the city. But there is one more representative who has also arrived. Hong Shiyu, rank 7, level 7. Seeing as everyone has already gathered, the mayor wastes no time and decides to head straight to the trial location. Meanwhile, on the examination field, all the participants gather and wait for the most important exam of their lives. There, Chunji is seen frantically looking around for his friend Yi Ling. However, no matter how much he looks, he just can't seem to find him, leading him to only one conclusion. Has he already given up on the selection? Well, that's only natural. He hasn't been able to contact Yi Ling for several days now, and considering his pet is not good in any sort of way, isn't out of the realm of possibilities. Clearly, he doesn't know about all the recent developments. Just then, Yi Ling finally appears on site and meets up with Chunji. Seeing him, Chunji questions what the heck he has been up to, claiming he couldn't even contact him, no matter how much he tried. Thankfully, the teacher informed him that Yi Ling was on leave, or else he would have thought he might have already bitten the dust. But Yi Ling just laughs it off, revealing he was just cultivating for the past few days. Hearing these words, Chunji notices that there is a different air around his friend. He feels vastly different from a few days ago. But Yi Ling claims it might be because he will be getting an offer from a top guardian spirit academy. Alas, his bold claim just ends up making him a laughing stock. The bystanders, upon hearing this, begin mocking him, calling him a joke. I mean, it's public knowledge that his spiritual pet is a trash zombie. Still, at least in their eyes, he is sure to just become a normie after today, so who really cares what he says? Dude, these kids are pretty goddamn brutal. But all these insults don't bug Yi Ling at all. He knows that these lowlifes can laugh all they want for today, but they won't get a chance to afterward. Just then, the representatives of the 4 academies and the mayor finally arrive on site. Upon arrival, the mayor comments on how lively all the participants this year are and decides to kick things into action at last. Taking the stage, he begins addressing the crowd. All the while, Yi Ling is raring to go. All of you, just wait and see, he thinks. At the field, the teacher once again goes over the trial's contents. As per him, the Guardian Spirit trial is split into 2 parts. The first part is about surviving in the secret domain. All students who participate will be teleported to a fixed secret domain, where they will be attacked by rank 1 beasts. To pass, the students have to survive 3 days inside the domain. Those who manage to pass will then be allowed to continue on to part 2, which is a combat scenario. The students will be split into 2 groups, and the winners will advance to the next round, while the losers will impede in their corresponding groups. Anyone who fails in the first round will only be eligible to enter a low-ranking spirit academy. Luckily, they can try several times. The more times you go through, and the more times you win, the higher the chance of entering a high-level academy. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Out of everyone, the top 10 students will have the equal privilege of entering the top schools or at least entering a high-ranking one. He reminds the students to compete with their strength and not push themselves too much, or else they might end up paying with their lives. At the end of the day, lives matter more than anything else. If you are dead, then there will be nothing left, he claims. Hearing the teacher's warning, some of the students begin getting worried. One girl asks if people really do die in the trial, but this is only to be expected. There are unexpected dangers littered everywhere in the trials, and only the students will be able to save themselves when the push comes to shove and things get dicey. Of course, this is a hard pill for all these novices to swallow, but our boy isn't a novice. He's been waiting for this moment for a long time now, and is excited to start. Suddenly, the system screen pops in front of him and gives him another task: complete the first round of the recruitment trial. If he does so, he will be awarded 3 spiritual power crystals. But for someone of his caliber, it should be pretty easy. After all, there are only rank 1 beasts inside the domain, and you should be able to deal with them without any issues. Suddenly, the crowd begins causing a commotion. They spot the person in the front of the line, recognizing her to be the school Madonna. Who will she honor? Meanwhile, the popular girl in question seems to be looking around for Yi Ling herself, wondering, where's that guy? Looks like someone is obsessed. The crowds begin singing praises of who will she honor, deeming her to be the seeded player of the exam. They claim several big academies have come here specifically to recruit her, and they wonder why and how the Huo family is so powerful. Nepotism. Pretty clear answer if you ask me, but Yi Ling isn't fazed by all this and is itching to see who really the talented genius among them truly is. Looks like bro is forgetting he has a cheat system on his side. Finally, the exam begins. The mayor tells all the participants to quiet down and begins opening the secret realm gate, officially commencing the first stage of the exam. As such, the teachers begin lining up the students and tell them to enter as soon as possible and find the best position to ensure their survival. And, without any hesitation, Huo Xian takes the first step inside. Watching all this unfold from the podium, Bai Tong and Demi Huo talk about who they think might be interesting participants to watch during the trial. Of course, Demi Huo is interested in Huo Xian, whereas Bai Tong seems to be curious about the last guy who entered the realm, aka Ling. And he isn't alone in this observation. The other representatives also sense a powerful air surrounding Ling, though they decide to continue watching for now, especially since the admission should be based on academic performance. This means Ling is considered to be the weakest student in the entire school. On the field, Ling claims he has just allowed all the others to go ahead of him since, for him, this is the best place to grind for materials. Rose getting too arrogant. For some reason, this sounds like a death flag to me. At last, he ventures inside, and it is revealed that the domain consists of many vastly different biomes. All the students have been teleported randomly inside. Some in the mountains, some in the river, and even some in the middle of a desert. Damn, tough luck. The desert people are going to die for sure. Ling ends up at the top of a mountain and decides it's best if he summons Shui first and foremost. With this, they then begin making their way down the mountain. On the way, he seems to be a bit concerned about the fact he has been walking for so long, hasn't even encountered a single candidate yet. No, rather he hasn't even seen a monster in the area. But it really looks like the heavens are watching down on him. Just as he says this, a bird monster appears in the sky, screeching loudly. This forces Ling to cover his eyes from pain, and he reveals that this monster is a steel-winged bird. Apparently, the adult ones are about level 4, but thankfully, judging from the wingspan, this one looks to be a mere infant, meaning it's pretty weak. Consequently, he orders Shui to take care of it, and she leaps into the air, attacking the bird and sending it flying away with its tail tucked between its legs. Seeing it flee, Ling bursts out laughing, though he thinks it's a pity that Shui can't fly, or else the bird would have met its end. Regardless, flying pets are always good to have, and he decides to definitely get one next time. The duo finds a cave on the mountainside and decides to call it their base for now. According to Ling, it's safer to survive in a cave, rather than staying outside. However, the steel-winged bird isn't happy with the outcome of the previous battle and keeps tailing them, shrieking from time to time, and annoying Ling, who has already had enough of it. He announces, if we don't deal with it soon, it will be impossible to find peace of mind or a good night's sleep. Sleep is very important after all. What's more, although the bird has followed them here, it doesn't dare attack them directly. This could only mean one thing. It is scared of Shuiyu. However, it is also clear that the bird's real target isn't her, but him. As a result, he decides to lure the monster down and take care of it. To accomplish this, he keeps Shuiyu hidden and ventures out in the open by himself, trying to bring the bird closer in range. But the monster doesn't seem to be a dumbass and keeps the distance. Realizing its intellect, Ling moves further into the woods, so it won't be able to resist taking the bait. Tirelessly, he runs into the deep, thick part of the woods trying to trick the bird. According to him, this is the best place for the monster to attack, and it must be ready to make its move. Nevertheless, the bird is actually smarter than he gave it credit for. Before committing to a frontal blow, it tests the waters and launches an AoE attack. Little does that bird brain know, Ling was already prepared for such a situation. Just in the nick of time, he uses his spiritual shield to create a barrier around himself, allowing him to deflect the bird's attack, although it's still pretty troublesome. But that's just the beginning. Suddenly, the bird decides to dish out a close-range attack and moves in closer. Seeing this, Ling gets worried. The thing is, the steel-winged bird's beak is notorious for being tough. Concerned that his mere level 1 spiritual shield will not be enough to stop the blow, he unleashes his spiritual chains and tries to constrain the beast, and he succeeds. Having caught the bird at last, he then summons Shuiyu to finish the job, and she jumps in, decapitating the poor monster in the blink of an eye. Now that the bird is unable to fly, Ling begins rummaging through its corpse to find any evolution materials. There, he realizes this bird brain actually has some surprisingly high-level evolution materials. Although they can cost a lot, he doesn't have a need for them at the moment. He gathers the feathers, talons, and beak of the monster, thinking, I need to level up to the 2nd rank as soon as possible. But that's not all. As it turns out, the neck meat of the steel-winged bird is considered a high-tier cooking ingredient, so much so it is highly sought after, and is usually only found in 5-star hotels in Tian, Hawaii City. And now that they have one handy, they'll be having a culinary feast tonight. With this, he and Shui return back to the cave. Curiosity piqued, Ling wonders if zombies eat raw or cooked meat. In the first place, do they even need to eat at all? Meanwhile, the examination field is in chaos. The injured are being treated by the medics, while the representatives watch Ling's performance. Even Deme Hua begins getting interested in Ling, claiming she never expected a level 4 steel-winged bird to be dealt with so easily. Bai Tong agrees, stating that having such strength at a young age in this city is something quite impressive. What's more, his pet is a rare humanoid spirit, making his future performances even more worthwhile to see. Sadly for Hong Shiyu, her academy only accepts girls. Just then, one of the mayor's assistants comes up to him, handing him a tablet. Apparently, the mayor wanted to learn more about Ling and his abilities. Consequently, he begins looking at Ling's background information, leisurely sipping his tea. However, he is left baffled and begins choking all of a sudden. Seeing him in such a state, everyone else is shocked as well, and upon closer inspection, realizes the reason. Ling's spiritual pet is, in fact, a zombie. Despite seeing this with their own eyes, the representatives cannot believe it. After all, isn't this impossible? Zombies are infamous for not being able to evolve. Witnessing this, Bai Tong gets more and more intrigued by this student. Luckily for him, Ling has participated in the trial, meaning as long as he can recruit him into his academy, everything will be clear once and for all. As the day slowly turns into night, in another part of the secret realm, Li Yue is seen hiding away on a mountain. He comments on how this place is a treasure trove, and how he has nothing to worry about. After all, no one would be stupid enough to provoke a powerful creature, such as the venomous scale python, the very monster he is hiding beneath. Apparently, as long as he can hide, concealing his presence and scent, thanks to the scale python, he should be able to breeze through the 3 days in peace. Suddenly, he notices a smoke cloud in the distance. Seeing this, he immediately begins cursing the idiot who started a fire late at night. As it turns out, the night is when the most powerful monsters appear, and only a fool would intentionally gather attention. Isn't it just courting death? He wonders. Meanwhile, the idiot in question is revealed to be none other than Ling, who is busy cooking up the steel-winged bird's meat. Now that he knows Shui Yu isn't interested in eating, he decides to not hold back, and chomps down on the delicious neck meat, immediately being sent into a foodgasm. The taste truly lives up to its reputation, and he deems it to be even more delicious than chicken. In fact, the meat is so good that he begins crying tears of joy, happy that he managed to feast on such a delicacy. Even under these circumstances, all the while, Shui Yu watches her master enjoy his food, when she notices some movement near them. She explains that she heard something, and, upon closer inspection, they see they are surrounded by a pack of wolf monsters. Sensing the danger, Shui Yu gets ready for battle. On the flip side, Ling discards his meal. According to him, he was waiting for these monsters to come at him. If not, how could he grind experience points during the long night? However, the foe has exceeded his expectations. The opponent is a demon wolf king, rank 1 level 7, accompanied by several of its underlings. Obviously, a monster of such caliber was out of his expectations, and he didn't intend to attract such a formidable foe. Such an opponent cannot be underestimated, and he places all his trust in his pet zombie. On the other hand, the demon wolf king is raring to go and begins to growl at its prey, signaling to its underlings to attack. Little does it know, it stands no chance in front of their zombie waifu. In the blink of an eye, Shui Yu moves in and begins attacking the wolves left, right, and center. While she is engaged with its allies, the Wolf King decides to jump into action as well, aiming to kill Ling while his pet is preoccupied. Seeing it come at him at full speed, Ling is left terrified and distressed, hastily calling for Shui Yu to come to protect him. Heeding her master's command, she rushes to his side and pries the beast's jaws wide open, preventing it from getting a chance to bite. However, this causes a temporary stalemate, allowing the subordinate wolves to group up and attack as a team. This was all part of Shui Yu's plan. Just then, the small fries get close enough and she unleashes a barrage of attacks, heavily damaging the demon Wolf King, while simultaneously taking out its subordinates. Left with a scar on its eye, the Wolf King is enraged. In a crazed state, it glares at Shui Yu with the intention of killing her. Meanwhile, Ling praises her skills. Although the foe might be level 7, there is still a huge gap in strength, as Shui Yu is currently a rank 1 level 9 spiritual pet. The wolf, not smart enough to understand this, recklessly charges in, using frantic roaring to power up. Running at full speed, it tries to pounce on its opponent, but Shu Weiyu isn't a pushover and easily manages to evade the blow. What's more, she then gets into a favorable position and kicks the beast away, ending its life in the blink of an eye. Now, that's what I call overpowered. Anyway, this marks the end of the fight, and Ling now decides to go and check out the corpse for any dropped items. As luck would have it, this demon wolf can give him two very important materials he needs to evolve Shu Weiyu further: the heart of the demon wolf and the dark blood essence. With these materials, you will definitely be able to evolve quickly, he claims. Outside the secret realm, everyone watching is left in utter shock. Flabbergasted by what they just witnessed, they all wonder who on earth this Ling guy is and how they have never heard of him, despite his immense power. However, they slowly come to realize that Ling is the student with the useless zombie. Even the teacher is left speechless. On the other hand, fatally injured and wounded students are rescued and drop at the examination field. To address this, the mayor tells the medical staff to take care of the children and carry them away. Of course, the student in question is left completely crushed because of this. And why wouldn't he be? He just lost his only chance to become someone in this world. Pleading with the staff, he begs to be allowed to participate in the assessment one more time. Alas, his words fall on deaf ears. Even the teacher is left disappointed, claiming he can only become an ordinary person in this lifetime. After all, he was eliminated in the first round. Assessments are ultimately dangerous and cruel, he announces. Nevertheless, there is still a chance. If you can hold out for one more minute in the secret realm, you could get one more chance. All the while, the representatives are going crazy over Ling and his pet. Lu Feng, in particular, begins acting like a little kid in a candy shop, claiming his academy wants him. However, Bai Tong claims he was the first to discover Ling's talents, and hence, he belongs to his school. Even Deme Huo is left impressed and comments on how his pet is very strong. And Lu Feng couldn't agree more. Not only does this zombie have high attacking stats, but she also possesses a poisonous effect, making her all the more dangerous. Their bickering begins causing a commotion, prompting the mayor to tell them to quiet down and be patient. The assessment isn't over yet after all. Let's watch till the end and see how the situation in the dungeon will be, he states. Back inside the realm, Ling decides to ditch his trusty cave. Apparently, the area around it has already been covered by the Wolf King's blood aura, and many monsters will soon rush there. As a result, they now have to find a new place to stay. All of a sudden, Shu Weiyu senses something dangerous approaching and tells her master to stop. Instantly, she prepares herself to fight and turns back, revealing someone nearby is being chased by a scale python. The scale python, rank 1 level 9, attacks this someone, who is revealed to be none other than Li Yue. As it turns out, he fell asleep, and his snoring woke up this monstrous beast, resulting in the current situation. Seeing him here, Ling is surprised, but there is little time to watch in shock. Out of nowhere, the python begins spitting out poison, resulting in Li Yue having a brush with death. As his life flashes before his eyes, he frantically looks around for someone who can help. Alas, he just ends up stumbling and falling over. Just then, he spots Ling and questions how on earth this trash is still alive. And this was the lucky break he was looking for. Almost like magic, life is breathed into his soul, and he begins acting all high and mighty as usual. If I'm going to fail, I will make you fail with me, he thinks. Consequently, he gets up and begins running again, this time directly towards Ling. Not only that, he begins taunting the python to follow. Obviously, this leaves our boy in a difficult situation, but Li Yue doesn't stop there. He leads the monster directly to his foe and, just in the nick of time, uses an escape button to flee the scene. Even if I lose, I will make you suffer, he claims just as the python chomps down on him. Luckily enough, at that very moment, he is transported back to the outside world thanks to the button, although he does end up losing one of his arms in the process. There, the medics hurry to his side, trying to get him to a safe place for treatment, but he rudely refuses, revealing he wants to stay here and watch how Ling will meet his end. Meanwhile, the representatives are intrigued by this recent development and wonder if he will be able to defeat the scale python. But Lu Feng has his doubts. The fact is, this is a rank 1 level 9 monster Ling is facing, and its combat abilities are different from the steel-winged bird. But Bai Tong disagrees. Rather, he is so confident in Ling's abilities that he is ready to bet 50,000 credit points on his victory. In response, Lu Feng counters this statement by placing a 50,000 bet that Yi Ling will choose to run away, and to Hong Shiyu, retreating after knowing an enemy's strength is a wise choice, and hence, she too joins Lu Feng's bet. Consequently, Bai Tong then asks if Demi Huo will also participate, leading her to bet that Yi Ling will be eliminated or die. Hearing these words, the four of them begin laughing, commenting on how brutal the bet really is. They even try to get the mayor to join in, but he refuses. Regardless, they will know the results soon enough. Inside, the beast begins to wreak havoc, and Yi Ling quickly realizes that fighting such a foe head-on, even with Shu Weiyu, isn't a good idea. In addition, his rank 1 skills are pretty much useless against high-level rank 1 monsters, and it looks like he has only one option left. It seems I have to upgrade my spirit technique's rank. And so, he upgrades the spiritual chain to level 2, increasing the amount of time it can be used. With this, he's able to use it 3 times per day. Suddenly, the scale python unleashes a spray of poison again, but this time, Yi Ling is prepared. "I have to use it at the right moment," he exclaims. As such, he evades the venom spray and orders Shu Weiyu to avoid it at all costs. Heeding his command, she dodges and moves in to attack. However, her pattern is too obvious, and the python sees through it in a second, countering with an attack of its own. Using its tail, it sends Shu Weiyu flying back. All the while, Yi Ling witnesses this from the sidelines and knows the combat ability of this enemy is too high for a frontal attack. Nevertheless, the show is just beginning. The python once again uses its venom spray. Realizing this, Yi Ling orders Shu Weiyu to watch out, since the spray has a corrosive effect, and just by the skin of her teeth, she barely manages to evade it. But that's not all the effects this venom spray has. Out of nowhere, a poison mist begins appearing on the battlefield. As a result, all they can do now is try to end the battle as quickly as possible, or else the poison will take their lives. Because of this, he uses his spiritual chain and contains the rampaging snake. Having constrained its movements, he then orders Shu Weiyu to attack now, and she jumps in without hesitation. Using the opening her master created, she strikes the monster straight through its neck, effortlessly piercing through it. Because of this, the beast is subdued and falls flat on the ground, allowing Yi Ling to breathe a sigh of relief. Outside the realm, everyone watching is left with their jaws on the floor. They never imagined that the trash Yi Ling was able to kill such a powerful poison-scale python. But Li Wu is left even more flabbergasted. Impossible. He was just weak trash. How did he? He wonders. On the other hand, the representatives become more and more interested in this young boy. Lu Feng remarks on how Yi Ling was able to grasp the rank 2 spiritual chain in less than half a month. But this is truly unbelievable. Even if he is a genius, he is just way too strong. Even the mayor is taken aback and wonders how on earth he didn't discover such a genius until now. Was there even someone this strong in the academy in the first place? Regardless, now that he has won the bet, Bai Tong reminds everyone to send over their 50,000 points. To this, Demi Huo admits her defeat and agrees to transfer them over later, but for now, she wants to be excused to use the restroom. Alas, this is just an excuse. In her mind, she realizes that Yi Ling is a genius that only appears once a century. I must definitely recruit him, she thinks. But first, she must report the situation to her academy and get more benefits to offer him. Back inside, Yi Ling begins rummaging through the snake's corpse to find any suitable evolution materials. As such, he finds some poison scales and the snake's poison gland, 2 pretty high-grade materials. What's more, it looks like Shu Weiyu's evolution is approaching fast. All she needs is 1 more level to reach rank 2, and they just need to find and defeat a few more monsters. Fortunately for them, they hear a demon wolf's howl in the distance. Meanwhile, it is revealed that Kuo Xianer is currently engaged in battle with a demon wolf. However, she is in a dangerous situation. Although the demon wolf is at the same level as her earth dragon, it has an advantage in numbers. Suddenly, the beast commands its underlings to attack, and the small fry surrounds her and her pet. Using their numbers advantage, they gang up on the earth dragon, but they seem to be forgetting. This is supposed to be a high-level pet. All of a sudden, it begins flapping its wings, causing an air pressure strong enough to launch the wolves flying back. Alas, a few manage to slip in and bite their foe. This causes the dragon to begin shrieking in pain, and Huo Xian begins getting worried for her pet. She knows that the earth dragon is strong, but its speed is still lacking. I can't let this go on, she thinks. Consequently, she decides it's better to get out of there for now and tells her pet to fly away. Of course, it won't be such an easy task. The demon wolf king jumps up to attack the fleeing duo. Seeing this, Huo Xian Er tries to get out of range, but her commands aren't fast enough. The wolf king manages to chomp down on the earth dragon's arm. This leaves the duo in a pickle. Frantically, she asks if her pet is alright, but in her mind, she is worried about the uncertain future, wondering if this is where her dreams will end. Am I going to fail here? Without even passing the first stage of the assessment, she questions. But even if she fails, the one thing she can't allow to happen is letting her beloved pet die here. All of a sudden, someone appears on the scene and begins attacking the wolves. The speedy blows send the wolves flying back, and like a knight in shining armor, she finds Ling along with Shu Weiyu. There, seeing that her savior is the one she called trash. Huo Xian is taken aback, whereas Ling comments on how her earth dragon looks pretty beat up. Meanwhile, the representatives begin mocking Huo Xian, claiming her luck since the boy genius came to her aid. To them, her situation looked pretty dire, so much so she might even have to use her emergency teleport button. But Demi Huo takes offense to such statements, telling the others to stop jumping to conclusions. Baitan, however, remains adamant and continues insulting Xian. He announces that if he was in Ling's place, he wouldn't have helped her. When you were in the exam, one more person means one more opponent, he states. On the other hand, the Wolf King decides to avenge its packmates and prepares to fight. However, Ling is ready for the brawl and orders Shu Weiyu to use Bloodlust. With this, she powers up and charges in. Of course, the Wolf King tries to use his underlings to attack first, but they get annihilated in the blink of an eye. This leads to it getting scared and trying to escape, but Ling notices this, telling Shu Weiyu not to let it run away. As a result, the two collide headfirst and exchange blows. All the while, Huo Xian is left stunned at the battle, so much so that she almost ends up as collateral damage. She comments on how, in just a month, Ling has already become so much stronger, and even saved her from doom. But even in this situation, she doesn't give up on her high and mighty attitude, wondering if she, the school Madonna, has to be the one to take the initiative and talk to him. As such, just as the Wolf King goes down, she gives off her pet and thanks him. Nevertheless, he is more interested in telling her to escape, especially since the battle is sure to have attracted other beasts. Hearing this, Huo Xian begins to blush, thinking, "Is he worried about me?" Consequently, she suggests they both leave together. To this, Ling begins to think. Of course, he's better off alone, but leaving Huo Xian alone with an injured pet is not a good idea. Sensing his hesitation, Huo Xian sweetens the deal, claiming she will also transfer 100,000 credit points to him. Once the trial ends, obviously, with such a huge sum, you can buy many evolution materials, and he agrees to the deal. But this makes Huo Xian a bit mad, since she thought he was a gentleman. But, as it turns out, he's just a greedy guy after all. Regardless, Ling then comes to her side, making her think that he is trying to comfort her. This makes her blush even more, but the reality is cruel. Rather than comforting her, he wants the payment right now. Hearing this, she gets even more furious, explaining that she doesn't have such an amount handy, though she promises to give it to him once they get out. But this isn't good enough for Ling, who now asks to sign a contract so she can't back out. Pretty smart move if you ask me. All this does is make her think, am I so untrustworthy? Nonetheless, she stamps the contract with her fingerprint, and the deal is established. With this, he promises to protect her until tomorrow, but first, he has to collect the evolution materials from the Wolf King's corpse, claiming they will go and find a safe place to stay afterward.